additional content just for you.
We're making love.
Cookie?
Yeah. You want me to do it by feel?
Oh, mate. Oh, mate.
Oh, mate.
Let me know it's hot enough. Deep down. Alright. I'm cooking.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I didn't know if you had more.
Yeah.
I don't have Relaxo, so I'm just using this.
Alright.
So I'm just gonna play it by ear.
And then I like the style of cooking. Beautiful.
1999.
But then I discovered that Brits really like
Unsponsored. Oh.
You just talk about it more. Is that? On MasterChef, one of the chefs was like, "Love is you upgrade." You did cook me a nice, which is actually, well, we're all worried about that now. We know.
Let's cut it here. On to the review.
No more. No more cooking.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Two Asian Blokes Podcast, a podcast where we talk about Asian pop culture, films, TV shows, comic books, anime, music, food, video games, whatever we're feeling at the time, really. My name is Dan with a H, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Tavi. Hi, Tavi.
Hey, Dan. Yeah, we just, this is actually the second time we're doing this today because I was having some fucking weird issues with my computer, with my mic. It either being too loud or too quiet, but I think it's okay.
The professional establishment that we are is not immune to technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Hopefully this is the last time that we do this. Hopefully this is the take where we get it.
Yeah, no, everything seems to be running all right on my end. I would have just kept recording it, but I know risky. Like, fuck you, Tavi. You never listen to what I say. Never talk about like trying to block shit. I'm like, yeah, I'll get this stuff eventually, and then I don't.
Luckily, Risky is a professional, and he's very, very patient.
Yeah, lucky that, yeah.
Although we're probably pushing him a bit. One of these days he's gonna snap.
Yeah, he's gonna snap, and then pretty much without a Risky, our podcast is done for, really, because then we just sound like shit. Yeah.
So we're gonna talk about the movie Hunger today. It's currently streaming on Netflix. Hunger.
Yeah, our first Thai movie.
No, we did. Oh wait, no, yeah, you're right. First Thai movie.
First Thai movie.
I forgot what we've recorded and what we've aired, and I kind of thought the I was Thai for a second, but it's actually just set in Thailand.
Set in Thailand.
Yeah. So first Thai film.
It's technically it is a Hong Kong / Thai production. So you're kind of not wrong. And it was directed by Thai people as well.
There you go.
So there you go. Yeah, maybe you're right, actually. Who knows? But this is the first 100% Thai production film that we're covering.
Yeah.
And this came out on Netflix maybe a week ago.
At time of recording. By time of release, probably 2 months ago.
Probably like 2 months, 3 months.
Yeah.
600 years.
Yeah.
I slept too long. I edited for too long.
Yeah, our workflow really needs to be streamlined.
Yeah, I guess this is the issue with our format is that we don't plan very much, so we tend to just ramble
I mean,
on
it's
things.
also we're dedicated to the craft of putting out good episodes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
We don't need to sound that good, but we give it off to Risky to do the editing.
Yeah.
You know, much like the characters in this film, we are dedicated to our craft.
Do we have the hunger
to the point where we're driven to madness almost?
Yeah, pretty much.
So we'll talk about this film, non-spoilers first, and then we'll give you a fair warning before we start dropping some full spoilers.
Yeah. Do you want to give just a very brief synopsis, or do you want me to give a brief synopsis?
I can do it. The main character, Oi, she is a young cook working at her family's noodle shop. One day she receives a mysterious invitation to try working at Hunger, which is a famous catering service led by the master chef and all-round kind of messed up individual, Chef Paul. This kind of opportunity calls into question how far Oi will go to become special.
There's a few themes in this movie. There's a theme of ambition. There's a very distinct class theme as well. But the movie, it kind of starts off as Thai whiplash for cooking.
Yeah.
There's a scene where mimicking the J.K. Simmons
not my tempo.
Mars tell us not do it again and again.
Not my tempo scene, where she's trying to fry beef.
She's trying to fry beef. So she's the dude's getting Chef Paul is getting Oi or Ao to fry this beef, and she keeps messing it up, and it's basically saying again and again. And then he kind of just leaves her alone in the kitchen until she gets it right. And even the soundtrack is kind of this jazzy soundtrack. So I wonder the director, whose name I probably...
the director is City Mongol City.
Yeah. So I haven't seen any of his work before, but I did really enjoy Hunger. It's Hunger, if you want to say the Thai way.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Tavi and I are of Lao heritage, which is very close to Thai heritage. So
so we can understand bits and pieces of the dialogue. So it's quite interesting to hear the spoken dialect and what it's translated to.
That said, we don't often watch Thai movies and Thai media.
Yeah, we should.
Honestly, it is a little bit bizarre, hearing the language, because we've kind of grown up on this language, right? But we never hear it in media. Maybe it's kind of the same as when we hear an Australian accent in an American film. It's kind of it's a little bit weird, jarring. Yeah.
You kind of get used to it because this is pretty. I think the production in this is pretty good. It looks like there's money put into this.
I actually enjoyed this film a lot. In particular, the craft, of the film itself. I have some issues with the screenplay, and maybe like you said, there are a lot of themes, and I think maybe there are a couple too many themes, to be honest.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
But the overall production of it is quite good.
I think I probably have similar criticisms to you. I think there are some, maybe one too many themes, some screenplay issues, and maybe some tonal shifts that are not really that deliberate, but just kind of they don't really fit. But on
the production side, you mentioned the sound design really of that bit where she's trying to fry the beef. The sound design in general is quite good. This movie is quiet when it needs to be quiet. The scene where she's cutting the meat, at first there's no music, and you only get the sound of her breathing and the squishiness of the meat and the knife sawing through it, and Chef Paul is kind of berating her. And then the music kicks in when she's trying to fry the meat, and it's kind of this tense percussive beat that starts to get more and more intense the more she fails. And it works
louder.
And Yeah, it just works so well.
What does he say? Eek.
Yeah, something like that.
So, I'll Mike.
Amai? That's it. That's it. It's like Amai, which is just again.
Yeah. Also, the acting in this movie is very good as well. I really like the lead actress in this movie.
She goes by the stage name Okbab.
Okbab, yeah. We're gonna attempt to pronounce her, her
go on
name,
then.
even though we are close. This is the closest to our language, and we can't pronounce it.
Her name is quite long.
Her first name is easy, like Chuti Bon, and then her surname is Chong Charon Sukin.
Okay, yeah,
I think
that's pretty good.
So it's not bad. I actually had to look up how to pronounce, and even then it screwed me over. Like not screwed, like I still can't say it. So
I'm gonna go for Okbab. I think it's a bit.
Okbab.
Yeah, that's her stage name.
Yeah, I think she is pretty much like Thailand's like premium actress because she's in a lot of really good movies. She was in Bad Genius. Did you watch that?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, it's just about this girl who is like, well, yeah, she's really smart, but she gets paid to like help students cheat for their exams, and it kind of like spirals. Some of it was filmed in Sydney, so that's pretty cool.
Okay.
And then she was in this other Netflix Thai movie, Happy Old Year, which is a really, really good movie. I think that's my favorite movie with her in it. It's kind of just like it's just like a drama about this kind of like successful girl who wants to like get rid of like a lot of stuff in her house and keep it minimal, but there's just a lot of memories that are attached to the objects in her home.
It sounds like your kind of film. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really it's really good. So yeah, whenever she's in a movie or I see that she's in it, and when I saw that she's in the trailer, it's like, yeah, it's usually a sign of quality.
Okay.
I think yeah, she's a really good actress. Her look is quite interesting because like I think she's not a supermodel, but she started off as a model. But she has like that every girl look. Like, do you know what I'm like? I think I've seen this person, like I think I know someone that looks
she's
like
not,
this one.
She's not what you'd call glamorous, I would say, even though she is a fucking supermodel. But like she, I guess maybe like especially the way she's presented in this movie, she doesn't wear a lot of makeup, I guess. So she is quite naturalistic in her look. So yeah, like I think it works really well with this character who comes from kind of these humble roots, and I think she works really well with the actor that plays Chef Paul. Nopachai Chayanam.
A little bit easier to say.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to call him Chef Paul.
Yeah. He's so good in this character because he's got these kind of like, these really kind of beautiful black shark's eyes that work so well with the dead inside coldness of the Chef Paul character. Like he's really quite enigmatic. Like you never really know what he's thinking. And that contrasts really well with the character of Oi and the way that Okbab is playing her. Like you can tell exactly how Oi is feeling from her facial expressions. Whenever she's kind of scared of Chef Paul or annoyed at something or frustrated and conflicted, like she presents everything to the audience without really having to say anything. Like she can just do it with her face. Yeah, Chef Paul is just kind of like a mystery, really.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the performance of Chef Paul. And I always like these movies where it's kind of like two strong actors who are kind of versing each other.
Yeah, actor versus actor movies.
Actor versus actor, yeah. And like, yeah, Chef Paul, his character is strange and his motivation is strange. There's a little bit of like inconsistencies, I think.
I agree.
Because he's supposed to be like quite ruthless, but there's also like a softer side to him.
Well, there's scenes that allude to a softer side.
Yeah, but like it's not really there. Like, because when there's a scene where like Torn, who's like the love interest, and the guy that actually brings Oi to work at Hunger, the restaurant, and he's like, he shows her like where they get their produce from. And he's like, he pays the poor pretty well, and like, you need, it's like, it kind of seems out of character, especially for much of the stuff that he says and does in the second half of the movie.
Yeah.
Because the cool thing about this movie is it seems like it's going to be that harsh mentor, but will eventually lighten up and get used to the pupil. But it's not that story. Like I was quite surprised, not surprised, but like pleasantly subverted when it's like it is quite a strong rivalry in the second portion of the film, and it's like that is maybe probably a bit of a spoiler, but
maybe we can circle back to that point. But I do definitely agree. Like that scene is kind of out of place. Based on what we learned later in the film, it's out of place. At the time, it's not really out of place because it feels like a setup to a different movie. But definitely right. Like in hindsight, I'm like, probably could have done without this, to be honest. Like you can't really allude to character traits in a character and then never have them pay off. You know, like it's like a bit of a waste of time, to be honest. But like that's no fault of the actors. I think that's like a screenplay issue.
I think that's a screenplay. That might be an editing thing as well. Even though I love long movies, this movie is 2.5 hours. And I do probably agree that maybe some stuff should have been left on the cutting room floor. Like there's a scene where they introduce. There's like a crew of cooks. And Torn introduces Oi to a lot of the other chefs' like traits. Like Uncle Dang's the older guy, the wise guy. Then there's a guy that doesn't speak Thai, and then there's a dude that's like really good at desserts. And then none of those traits they don't really make an impact in the movie at all. Like you forget about the desserts guy. Like when is he gonna shine and like do desserts? So it's kind of like a little bit tonally out of place. It's almost like it's something you see in a Disney movie, like just introducing, and it's like, he's gonna somehow overcome a particular event using his special skills.
It's that like assembling a team kind of montage.
Yeah. But like they don't really get much of a show for the rest of the movie.
They all do something. But like they could have probably been consolidated into maybe one character. Rather than like a group of characters, you know. I think it could have been streamlined a little bit. This story,
and there's also a scene. It's a pretty enjoyable scene, but you know the scene where like it's the audition, right? It's at the start, and then there's like the culinary school grad versus and it's like Chef Paul tells them to make fried rice, and then like. The chef's like basically the culinary school grad is like looking down.
I actually really love this scene.
It's a really fun scene to watch, but it's also like
Oi battles this punk named Pat to make like the best fried rice, and Pat is just running his mouth, and he's like setting himself up to get absolutely wrecked.
But like. Because he's supposed to be like a culinary school chef, and he's using new rice and he's using a pan, and he like has a go at for using a wok. But if you're on YouTube and you watch like professional chefs, they won't shut the fuck up about wok.
You and I
and using
have
old
never
rice.
been to culinary school, right? We've never been trained as cooks, but. You and I know that day-old rice is better for making fried rice than fresh rice. Man, like everybody knows this.
Using day-old rice is like the same as not using cream for carbonara. Like it's just wrong. It's like whatever culinary school this guy went to,
it's just wrong.
The dude was clearly teaching it wrong. And it's like I was kind of like,
fuck off, Pat. You absolute scrub. Honestly.
And like it's obviously written because you wanted to it's written there so you can clearly distinguish that he's gonna lose because he's using a pan. Like every fucking chef would be like
I've never
that you
seen
meet that
anyone
makes
make fried rice with a pan, like instead of a wok.
I cook with a pan.
Unless you don't have access to a wok.
Because I don't have a wok and I don't
Exactly.
cook with fire at home. So I'm a pat at home when I make fried rice.
Okay.
But I'm not trying
is-
to audition for Chef Paul. But like, it's not as... I'd prefer fried rice for a wok. Most definitely.
Yeah, and a wok still works on a stovetop. Just to clarify, like. The woks are just better. Like you're not having rice spill all over the place if you're using a wok. Just from a logistical sense.
Like, does he not know about wok hay as well?
Yeah.
Like that's like part of the flavor. So I don't know where this guy.
Go fucking back to school, Pat. Honestly, no, maybe not back to school. Go to the streets and learn how to cook.
Get your money back, man.
Yeah,
Like fucking.
Just go on YouTube, mate. Just watch Uncle. What's his name? Uncle Richard.
Uncle Roger.
Uncle Roger. Yeah. Watch an Uncle Roger video. He'll tell you.
Any Asian probably knows that day-old rice is better. I have seen one video where a guy says you can use freshly cooked rice, but you gotta like fridge it and you gotta cool it down. You gotta dry it out.
You gotta cool it down for one day. For it to be suitable.
But like, so this guy, I was like, it's a really funny scene, and I really liked how inept Pat was, because it's kind of like, it's obviously supposed to be that really like snooty know-it-all,
and then he has a big sook as well. When he gets rejected, he's like, I'm not going home. I told my mum I was gonna work here.
And then he gets slapped.
And Chef Paul's just like, see man, he's like, fuck your mum or something.
That's just good. In the English, it's like, I think the English subtitles, it's like screw your mother, but like what he says is like luang meh. That's like, he says like, that's your mother's problem in Thai.
Okay.
Which doesn't have as much weight when you literally translate it, but I think probably in the Thai dialect it's a lot stronger, and it's just with the acting as well.
Okay, yeah.
Because
he does slap him,
yeah. Like, how do you not know? Anyway, there's also like because the movie, it's like she's progressively she gets like really good, right? But I think the transition to her becoming really good is a little bit clunky, I think.
Well, she learns from Torn, right?
She learns from Torn, but there's never really like, it doesn't really show her like making something that's really good. It's just that one bit where she like, I think someone gets fired.
A couple of people get fired. I mean, not super big spoilers, but I mean, the way she gets good is she kind of becomes inspired to start creating her own dishes, right? So she starts trying to make steaks and stuff and she's learning from Torn how to kind of do stuff that she's not really used to, because she's a Patsy Eel chef, really. She's good at using a wok to make noodles, and that's her thing, but she doesn't really have much experience with other kinds of cooking. And one of the chefs, like one of the older ones, is like, says something along the lines of, we're always going to be in Chef Paul's shadow until you start kind of creating your own dishes and making a name for yourself. You're going to be nobody. And you're going to die nobody. So that's kind of how she transitions from becoming like this humble noodle chef to becoming like somebody that is actually well-versed and has like a pretty good cooking arsenal. It happens at the same time as her developing sort of a love interest with Dawn as well.
Yeah.
Which again is kind of like a bit unnecessary.
I'm not sure how I feel about the Torn and her relationship, because it does get a little bit tossed aside, and I think it's there for her to show she's made progress, like as a better cook. But just thinking now, I do like it's probably a bit more subtle in the sense that when she starts cooking for Chef Paul and she goes back, suddenly like, her humble shit is not quite good enough for her. So she's like, she's talking about, what is this? Or like, she's trying to make her own steaks
she berates her friend. What's Ooh, I think his name is.
Ooh.
She berates him for eating pig offal soup, which like he always eats, but like suddenly it's not good good enough for her, because like good food should be good to look at as well, I guess, is her.
Part of the theme of the movie is the corruption of
that lavish lifestyle. The luxury. Yeah, definitely. It's like it comes across in a lot of places, and sometimes it's a little bit heavy-handed as well. But yeah, like there's this really cool scene where she gets accepted by Chef Paul, right? Like after she schools Pat, and then he's like, the smell of patsy eel on you it doesn't fit in this kitchen. Right? And then she goes and scrubs herself clean, and then she's like kind of removing her like rope jewelry as well, and it's just kind of symbolic of her like discarding her roots to kind of fit in with this new lifestyle that she wants for herself, this kind of luxury lifestyle. So yeah, there's that corrupting force of rich, and I guess that ties in with the theme of like rich versus poor that kind of runs throughout this film as well. Like the rich's approach to food is like they buy stuff that is not necessarily nutritious and doesn't even necessarily taste good, but they buy it because they can, because it's a status thing. Whereas the poor, they eat to survive, which is U's kind of like outlook. Yeah, he eats this pig offal soup, and he likes it because he's got no frame of reference and because it nourishes him. And again, that also ties into one of the other themes, which is like, what are rich people actually paying for? It's like, like there's a bit where like U buys the dad coffee for like 200 baht, which is like about $9 Australian. And it's expensive because they use these special beans. And then the dad drinks it and he's like, I don't understand the appeal. I don't understand the appeal of $9 coffee and steak. Like, and then they end up just eating the humble noodles, just throwing away his like kurobuta steak that she's made. And they're like, this is special. So like, there's a kind of like argument of like, is the food special because it's expensive, or is it expensive because it's special?
I do enjoy all the scenes involving like satirizing rich people too heavy-handed, but it is definitely taking a side. There's obviously the party where all the rich kids are eating that like squid thing, and then it's like clearly like they don't really give a shit about what he's making. I mean, it's probably sure, it tastes good, but it's just like it's just there for the status.
But those scenes, like the way they're shot, like the eating scenes, right?
The meal that has flesh.
Blood. So they cook for
Yeah.
like a politician's birthday, right?
Yeah. That's a really enjoyable scene to watch. It's very like, it's very clear with its message, I think, and just the consumption and the like the primal instinct of like food, I guess. It's quite interesting.
The way it's framed, you're not really sure whether it's meant to be like this is what is actually happening, or this is kind of like just the visceral imagery of consumption and gluttony that that they're trying to kind of portray. Like the coloring of this film also is very on point. Like
it's very top notch.
During this scene, like in this politician's birthday, like everything kind of has this gold tinge to it, right? And like that kind of shows kind of the decadence of this rich circle of people. Whereas like you go to the kitchen, like Hunger's kitchen, and it's kind of these clean whites and these cold steels of the kitchen, which kind of represents like the meticulousness and clinical nature of Chef Paul himself.
Chef Paul,
And then you'll go to like Oi's like noodle shop, and it's kind of just
like
this
warmer,
and even like just more naturalistic, and it's kind of like you're just brought back to the real world, whereas like the other two are not quite the real world, I guess.
I guess like it's supposed to show her in her comfort, like at home. She feels safe there, even though she is questioning things about like the way she cooks at home and how she does things. It's like there's still that like attachment to her like roots, her Thai roots. It's interesting. Usually watching movies that showcase food makes me hungry. There definitely was one dish that's like, I'd fucking smash the shit out of that.
Was it the lobster at the start? I really wanted to eat the lobster at the start. It's
lobster. Like... But like, much of the food in this movie, it's interesting because it's not really that appetizing per se to me. Because I'm not a fine diner. I'm very far from being a fine diner. So I wonder if that was the movie's intention to make all this really fancy food that is not... It does look good, but I don't know. It doesn't really tickle the. It didn't like make me want to go out and eat like the food
Because you can't afford it anyway.
Yeah, no, I can't afford it. But it's just like I don't know.
It's a part of your mind that's already telling you like, no, just no.
Yeah, but even then, like I'm definitely more on like the humbler side of food. Just like I kind of enjoy that shit a bit more.
It's not presented in a particular appetizing, especially like the flesh eating scene that you mentioned at the politician's birthday. Like again, going back to the sound design of it, like that scene is so sinister. Like the way that it's presented.
It's like they're eating. It's like almost like cannibalism.
Yeah, like even before that, when they're watching like the cooks prepare the food, like all of the guests are just watching them in silence, and it's kind of like they're watching some kind of sick ritual. And then they start eating, and like the music is stripped away, and all you can hear is like slurping and scraping.
Because he's like the guy at the start. He's like he picks up he's like, "Where's the cutlery?" And it's like, "Use your hands." So because like Chef Paul's motivation is like kind of forcing these people to
value him, right?
But also like to kind of strip them of who they really are, and they're just like ravenous beasts, I guess. Because there's a lot of very like interesting eating scenes in this movie.
Yeah, it all looks very disgusting.
Yeah, because like I like the idea that like what is considered like high class is basically Western food, but not even just Western food. It's like Western culture. Like he's called Chef Paul. The restaurant's called Hunger. The website is in English. So it's kind of like the status of what Thai people can't, like middle class Thai people couldn't hope to achieve, because that's a sign of education. It's a sign of like it's weird because it's like it's almost abandoning your roots is considered classier because I think Thailand does, and like I've heard from some like of my cousins and stuff say like Thailand's they really want to keep their culture intact. So they have a lot of these street food places and a lot of these things, and it's really good.
Yeah.
But like from going there maybe about 4 years ago, it's weird because like anything that is almost seen as like a humble Thai thing is like not really upper class. It's always like, oh, this is the finest Japanese style quality thing. It's almost like the rejection of their own culture is like considered high class. And I find that like interesting in a sense that a lot of people are almost abandoning their identity to make these kind of fusion, almost Western style like Thai dishes, and saying like this is like what food should be, but it's like it's not. And then when you see like a lot of people eating like just the more humble Thai stuff, it's like people are happier, I guess. So
it's a pretty big theme in this film. Yeah, it's just like the sense of abandoning those roots for what? Like for this image of something that is supposed to be better, but potentially is not. Yeah, and I don't think Thailand is alone in that. I think a lot of Asian countries kind of like put Western culture on this pedestal of this is what we should kind of aim for. Whereas it's not always the better product.
It's interesting and also a little bit sad that like, kind of what is seen as high class is always going to be the Western style of thing. And I guess it's like the impact of colonialism,
I mean, it's like the affluence as well. Like there's a lot of money in the West, right? As opposed to kind of these poorer like Asian countries. I mean, that's the reason like our parents moved to Australia, right, Tommy? They're just looking for a better life. And I think like, because of that kind of mentality, a lot of Asian cultures tend to kind of put their hopes in the West. Probably not even just Asian cultures. Like I'm sure a lot of like Irish immigrants that went to America were looking for a better life as well.
Yeah. And the thing is like, it's interesting because like, as you said, like, you move to like a Western country for a better life. And I mean, like you and I have a significantly better life. Like we just don't know. And like I think the movie questions whether or not like what would you abandon the privileged life? Because like I can talk a lot of shit about being humble, whatever, but like I would not want to give up the life that I have at this moment, you know, because I'm pretty content. I mean, I'm not the richest person, but like
you're
and
better
I
off than a lot of people. Yeah.
Like if I've seen some pretty harsh poverty when I was in Southeast Asia, especially when I went back to Laos. We stopped in this like really small town for a break, and we were in this like really rich van thing, like a people carrier, but like it was paid for by, and you know, thankful to her, but I won't name her, but she probably is like has a house that rivals one of the events that you see in this movie.
All right, let's call her Madam Milky then. I know exactly who you're talking about, but
you know who you're talking about, yeah. But like she's a really nice person.
Yeah,
she really helped us out a lot. Yeah, so I mean, there's good rich people as well.
I like how in this movie, like every rich person is either like a old corrupt politician or a young socialite, like a bling empire type.
Yeah.
There's no in between.
It's probably not balanced, not like a parasite, I would say. But yeah, like we just stopped in this village and it was just really poor. Like, you know, like just you could buy a bunch of bananas for like 5 cents or however much that is in geep, all that kind of thing.
Probably like
I just felt
20 million geep or something.
Yeah.
Inflation in Laos is outrageous.
I just felt really bad because, like, yeah, the wealth disparage is. It's probably as big in Thailand. It's definitely really big in Laos, but Thailand is definitely a much richer country than Laos. But there's definitely a big like difference between like middle class and high class. I think the wealth disparage is quite big, and you see that in this movie. There's no one that's really in between. Not like how it is probably here in Australia. Or
I
in
would
America.
probably argue that Oi's family is maybe in between, because I mean, like there's Chef Paul's circle and his clients kind of thing. They're at the very rich end of the spectrum. And then you have Oi, who has this restaurant, but at least she has the restaurant, you know?
Yeah.
Like there's scenes towards the end that kind of like show all the homeless people and you're like, yeah.
But the thing is, like, she has the restaurant, but like people who probably live that life as just a street cook on a pretty small restaurant, like that's probably the only life you'll experience unless you have an education. Because like, I'd say you and I are in between, like, not say the rich, but we're pretty well off. You and I, we've traveled to different countries. We've seen a lot of things, you know. So we do have that privilege where whether a person like Oi, she wouldn't be able to do that because like what kind of salary can you get from just cooking noodles? You cook enough to survive, but like that's all kind of she'll ever know. And I think that's her motivation initially is like she wants to be someone special, but I think the special is like she just wants to experience some other things in life aside from being just a patsi cook, you know.
And she's kind of immediately charmed by that life as well. Like as soon as she goes to the hunger kitchen and it's like this beautiful kind of penthouse view, and she's just immediately kind of drawn in by that temptation, I guess. Which I guess, again ties into that theme of like wanting to be kon piset, you know? Wanting something more. And like, to be honest, she is talented. Like the movie shows us that she's talented, so maybe she deserves to be kon piset rather than kon tamada.
It's interesting because I think the movie also kind of implies that hard work is also not like the be all end all. It's like
they make it seem irrelevant.
There's a little bit of luck. It's like sometimes it is luck. Like a lot of the social influences in this movie are probably kids of someone much richer, you know. So it's the luck of the draw, and it's kind of shows between like Torn and Oi as well, because like that's kind of a spoiler too. I mean.
Yeah, maybe we can get into spoilers actually, Tom. What do you reckon?
Yeah, let's get into spoilers.
Okay, but
it's kind of hard to keep talking about it until we get
if you
into
haven't watched
spoilers.
Hunger yet, I would definitely recommend it. I think this is quite a good film.
Yeah,
Like if you enjoyed The Menu as well, it's not The Menu.
it's pretty different. Yeah,
Yeah,
menu's more-
different in
the
its
menu's a
messaging,
comment.
I would say.
yeah.
But there's a lot of cool food imagery, and a lot of like commentary. So
Yeah.
if you like The Menu, you'd probably like Hunger, I reckon.
Yeah.
All right, let's do spoilers.
You know when Torn, was he ever fired? Like by Chef?
I think
Paul?
he
'Cause
probably quit.
He just because they don't show that he's just
He's
like
just
I have a
suddenly working
restaurant
at his
now.
own restaurant.
yeah. So, but he suddenly is like pissed off at Chef Paul as well, which is what led into that ending, which we'll go on in a bit. But she talks about how she has all these burns on her arm and shit, and like I worked hard for this, but what Torn says, like, should I congratulate you? Like, just for working hard. But I think the point of that scene is, she's definitely worked hard and she's earned it. But she's also been lucky that, she's a pretty girl. She's marketable, right?
Right.
Whereas Torn is just like a dude.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if he's super attractive. The ladies will just have to fill me in on that. But like, he's not marketable.
he's probably worked hard as well. The financier of Oi's restaurant, Flame, is what it's called. Yeah, he says, I'm sure he's a great chef, but there's a million of them. Like he's got no market value. He's got no market. He's got no selling point. Whereas Oi, she's like a pretty woman, I guess, is what he's implying. Torn's kind of like berating of her, I guess. His judgment of her is kind of justified because, just because you work hard doesn't mean that you're going to get the same results as someone else because, everybody kind of works hard.
Well, not everybody.
Not everybody, but everybody that wants to get to the position that they're aspiring to, they all work hard. So there is a bit of luck and there is a bit of like, maybe you're just pretty kind of thing. Which is not to undercut like her work. But you can't just say that you worked hard. It's like when I've watched I overhear stuff about the Kardashians from my partner because she kind of keeps in touch with them, on top of what's happening in their life. And yes, they might have good business acumen. And their mum is probably really good at marketing them. But also, they've come from a lot of wealth. So it's kind of when they say they've worked hard to what they've become, there's a bit of truth to that. There is. But
it's also you just
you're a Kardashian.
You're a Kardashian. You got lucky.
So
can't believe we're talking about the Kardashians on this podcast. That's
But we wanted to talk about some of the criticisms that we have of this film, right, Tavi?
And they do come with Chef Paul's inconsistent character traits.
So his motivation, his backstory, I guess, is revealed after he gets stabbed and hospitalized by his sous chef.
He's berating his sous chef for a particular incident. And that scene was pretty funny because it's gonna happen. If
it's coming. There's a kitchen full of knives, and he's just getting in this guy's face, backing him into a corner. It's I'm gonna ruin you. I'm gonna fucking ruin you. What do you think is gonna happen, Chef Paul? But we learned that his backstory is basically he grew up poor. His mum was a maid. He watched the rich family that he worked for eat this jar of caviar. So he, as a kid, decided to try to have some of this caviar to see what all the fuss was about. And he immediately got caught by just the most Draco Malfoy looking kid I've ever seen.
Thai Draco Malfoy,
But
Draco Malfoy.
But he got caught, dropped the jar of caviar, and his mum worked for months to pay off this one jar of caviar. And as they were cleaning it up, he had a taste, and he realized that caviar tastes like shit. That was when he thought, he just wanted to become a chef to make sure that these rich people begged him to cook food for them, which I guess like you and I have the same criticism. It doesn't quite connect, right?
Yeah.
Like those two ideas don't really connect to each other.
What I interpret it is like he just wants to learn to make what is perceived as really good food, whether or not he even enjoys the food himself. It's like he just wants rich people to grovel at his status, what he symbolizes.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because at that scene when he goes on about his backstory, like being like nice makes her dad's like special stir-fry noodles from passed down from the grandma, and it's like, you know, it looks really good, and her family likes it, but when the chef eats it, it's just like, this doesn't mean shit to me. Like
He breaks it down
like
into the
soybean-
core
yeah,
ingredients. Yeah, exo sauce and soy. Yeah.
extra sauce and soybean paste, and it's just like there's no love for food anymore. So it's kind of like, because Chef Paul was poor, he was the son of a housemaid, but like he got into this rich circle, like by whatever culinary means he did. Definitely not the school that Pat went to, but he learned how to, obviously he learned how to cook really, really well. But like it's to the point where food is not even satiating to him anymore. It is just like there so he can like work on his I guess disgust for rich people,
Yeah.
because he doesn't like them, you know, and I don't think he likes people in general, because he doesn't have much care for the humble people as well as his comments.
Although there was that scene where it kind of alluded to a deeper sense of his appreciation for the more humble people, which again doesn't come back at all, and we never see it in his character.
I wonder if he was just like lying to Torn, but like he doesn't seem like that kind of guy. He like is pretty straightforward in his meaning.
Well, I
like,
think the implication is he's probably been corrupted as well at some point.
Yeah,
because he used to go on these trips with Torn to the countryside, but he doesn't anymore. But the fact that we never see it reappear, like he's always a bad guy in this film. There's never a point where he reveals the softer side, even though it is alluded to in that scene. Yeah. So it's like kind of like it's a bit inconsistent of a characterization. Yeah.
But like I do like that he isn't soft in the movie. So it works in a sense that it's not, as I said earlier, it's not that tough mentor, like, you know, getting softer and being taught by his people. You know, the student is the teacher kind of shit. Like, no,
because they do try that at the end. Like,
but he's just a dick.
But he's just a dick. Yeah, and he's so sure that he's correct about his view of the world, and he never changes. He never wavers from his viewpoint of that, like the rich being just the worst people, and like. Yeah. He doesn't even like food, I think. Like
that's the thing. Like he doesn't like food. That's funny. Yeah.
Like he's a picky eater.
It's ironic.
But he doesn't he says that the rich aren't buying his food. They're buying the idea of him as like what he's created for himself, like the image that he's created for himself. So like it's inconsequential what he makes for them. And he shows this to Oi like many times throughout the film, where the food is like it's secondary to the idea that he's bringing to them.
And it's like there's a particular scene where, and it's just before like Uncle Dang tries to sabotage Chef Paul. He's like feeding that kind of like maybe family that used to be rich, but they're kind of like poor, and but they still want Chef Paul's service. But like Chef Paul tastes like the broth that Chef Dan, and he tastes shrimp immediately. So he's like, fuck, like tosses out the broth and like makes some shitty broth with just like packet instant noodle seasonings and a mixture of that.
And tap water as well.
And tap water.
That will definitely give you worms, I reckon.
So it's like made, like the sum of its parts is like what I probably have from my leftover satchels that I don't use when I'm using the noodles.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's just like So when they eat it, like this is like delicious.
It's
but
just pure
like,
MSG.
It's pure MSG. So and that kind of rings back, jumping forward a bit, to Madame Milky's party. We have a chef versus chef battle, which is quite interesting because do these actually happen? Like, I wonder if it's like, another chef is cooking there too. Like, what?
It's so entertaining. If I was rich, I would definitely make it happen.
The whole Madame Milky segment, and it goes for quite a while. It's actually 40 minutes when I was having a
Maybe we should go from the top of Madame Milky and go through it sequentially because it's a bit of a roller coaster. Hey.
Yeah. Because she eventually because he like does illegal shit like cooks a exotic bird, but they go hunting
of some kind.
So he like quits, and then she reaches out to like that restaurateur
Wait,
guy.
can I pause you there?
Yeah.
What do you think about the toucan thing? Yeah, I'm talking about as a plot beat. Like, the toucan is the breaking point for Oi, and that's when she decides to quit. But it's a bit. I found it a bit of an odd breaking point for her, because
like that guy has done much more egregious shit. Yeah,
like it comes right after the scene where you find out that the family they were cooking for
has like
did a murder suicide. Yeah. So that's like such a heavy beat, and then they go on to like toucan killing, which again, like, it's bad, but it's a weird breaking point I found for Oi.
Yeah.
You know, like, because the murder suicide thing is stronger in my opinion.
Yeah, but that's not at the fault of the chef.
But like they could have easily made it like that way. Like that could have been the breaking point for her. If she found out that Chef Paul knew that he was cooking their last meal, that could have been the breaking point.
That probably would have been better. Yeah.
Instead, it was like this murder suicide thing which is really heavy, and then there's a toucan that's killed, and then that's when she's like, "Nah, I'm out." So, like,
I think they probably needed something to eventually have Chef Paul get cancelled at the end.
Yeah, and like you could still make it.
But that doesn't.
You could
that
still
doesn't really work either.
You could still make it that that's his undoing. But I'm just saying, like, as Ui's motivation for leaving, it's a bit weak.
If there was a Chef Paul today and a Gen Z guy was working for Chef Paul, instant cancel.
For sure. It would be live stream. You would live stream that shit.
Like, you're not gonna get away with that shit, man. Chef Paul's getting cancelled like instantly. You can't
kill toucans and get away with it.
You can't even kill like a cow and get away with it now. You get all the vegan protesters.
So I just wanted to get your thoughts on the toucan thing, because that was one thing where it kind of took me out of it, because I was like, this is it feels off. Like
I honestly didn't think too much about it. I think what it built up to the end where he does get cancelled. Again, jumping ahead a bit, like I was like, I'm not really sure if you'd get cancelled over that, because like rich people love eating exotic food. They don't give a fuck.
Nah, but young rich people, they're not doing that, Tavi.
Yeah, but they're like, that party is like a mixture of ages, isn't it? I don't know.
Oh, they all seem pretty young.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I didn't know. It's like thinking about it now. It's probably I
think it's a good device to be the undoing of Chef Paul eventually, but I don't think it's a good device to have Ui leave his service. But anyway, that kind of leads her to making her own restaurant by approaching that financier guy. Yeah, which is a bit of a lull in the movie, I think.
I didn't mind it. I thought like all the like romantic scenes with her and Torn were kind of a lull, because they're like a little bit tonally out of place, and not in like a clever way. It's kind of like Thai drama, K-drama.
Yeah. They're very like sentimental. Like even the scene where they're collecting like ingredients is quite sentimental, and then there's a scene in his house.
It's a pretty heavy movie, and you kind of like want her to kind of learn on her own, not on her own, but like you kind of want to keep that momentum up a bit, like with like her like being slowly corrupted by like her ambition, but it's kind of like this romantic sexy time between her and Torn.
I probably would have like taken the romance out of it just to make it tighter and focus more on Oi's ambition. Like otherwise, like maybe make the romance like more visceral and like more of a representation of Oi turning to the dark side. Like have like put Torn in this place where he's like a corrupting force rather than someone who he himself kind of gets corrupted.
It's true. Yeah, because like he kind of, I think the cooking staff were maybe not weird enough. Like they haven't really been corrupted, and it's not like to the point of say the menu where everyone is like kind of just does whatever. So maybe it's better in that sense, but like. Yeah, maybe it might have been more interesting if like you had seen like work really hard to get to that level, but it's like kind of slowly corrupting her and kind of like taking her away from her humble roots.
Yeah, like you can still have the romance of Torn and her, but like because there's two characters that are kind of love interests. There's like who is like the humble like grassroots kind of love interest.
The social, isn't he like the YouTuber?
Yeah, the YouTuber,
the content creator. Yeah.
So then, like, if you position Torn as like the dark side, kind of like tempting her to come over, I think that's probably a stronger and more like it kind of makes a bit more sense than. Yeah.
But he's just a nice guy. But then he is sort of corrupted.
Yeah, he's definitely corrupted by the end of the film.
But yeah, she eventually like. She becomes like the head chef and a top chef at Flame with the restaurateur, and then she gets invited to she's told she was specifically asked by Madame Milky, but that's not the case when she actually goes there. But yeah, Madame Milky's event is just like it's very like 80s overindulgence. Everyone's dressed up in like
is it 80s, Tommy? Or is it something that we've seen in Bling Empire a lot?
it's like that scene reminded me of the club scene in American Psycho. Like
okay.
There's kind of people dressing up as angels and
like those theme
parties.
But
it is very like Bling Empire. So it's almost like people dressing themselves up as like this kind of royal characters, and like Madame Milky is like wearing this gold,
it's very hedonistic,
like really this gaudy hedonistic, like non-traditional traditional garb kind of thing. So it's kind of like a farce on like traditional Thai costuming, I guess, or culture. But there's just like there's a lot of foreigners there. It's just like over decadence of like and I'm just thinking of that scene in that trailer for Bling Empire season 2. It's spectacular.
It's spectacular. That's
it's spectacular.
Oh man, I half expected Kane Lim to like walk through the shot and just he'd be so so in his element in that environment.
Fucking Kane Lim, that guy. What a knob.
We haven't talked about Kane Lim in a while.
I try not to give that guy too much of a platform. He doesn't need another one. But so like she cooks and it's like a battle between dishes, even though it's like you can't. There's not really it's not like Iron Chef or anything.
Yeah, it's just basically you take turns in cooking something, and then the guests are like, nice.
Yeah. So Oe makes like this kind of Japanese-esque, like
some kind of fusion cuisine,
kind of fusion,
involving seafood.
But then like the theatrics of like Chef Paul for his like it's just basically a beef carcass.
I fucking love the theatricality of Chef Paul's spit roast. Like it.
How would he have planned that? He'd have to tell Madame Milky
for sure. Like 100%. Like watching that scene. Yeah, I don't give a shit if the food tastes like crap. You're watching that show, it's amazing. Like, from an audience point of view, like when I'm watching the movie, it's really cool because it kind of represents Chef Paul's rage against this system that disgusts him. It's like the rich like loving him not for his food, but for this image that he's created for himself. Like The way he violently slashes at the carcass, like he's fucking tossing chili powder through there.
It's gonna get in your eyes.
It's so dangerous. And then he literally
wear like a mask.
He literally sets the whole fucking thing on fire. So he's like fucking burning this thing that he hates, really. And like the ironic thing is that they eat that shit up, like like in the most kind of grotesque way.
And like the way he feeds like Madam and like puts the meat.
Yeah,
like,
he's literally she's literally eating out of his hand.
And so it's almost like this kind of like sex slave aspect of it. Just like he's just like you are mine, bitch.
Yeah, and that's like him achieving his goal of like the rich eating out of the palm of his hand, you know?
Then like makes her like humble noodles, and like this is an interesting moment because it's kind of like it's that point of the movie where like what you think is going to happen is when they try her noodles, they like it. Oh, we were like once normal people. We can.
This is the ending of the menu, right?
Yeah.
Appealing to the sentimental point.
So as you say, very much. Yeah, like it's just a humble hamburger, and then like it's that point where like maybe you think Chef Paul's going to be like, what have I become? I've become a monster.
Because she reminisces about her family as she's cooking the food, and she delivers this speech.
It's actually a really nice scene. It's a really nice speech. But then, as I was making that point earlier about the tap water soup, it immediately is quelled by Chef Paul's tap water, probably MSG, like boiled soup, and then like the rich people eat that shit.
It's just water, right? Like it's meant to look just like water. Like
because like, have you ever had like a consommé, like a really
I guess it's
consommé
clear
before? Yeah, it's actually really hard to do because you gotta like use egg whites to fucking soak
But it's almost like too clear to be consommé, to be honest. Like to me, it seemed like the director was just saying, "This is water." He's literally just serving them water.
Yeah, he's basically serving them dirt water.
Yeah.
But like consommé is actually really hard to do. But I also don't like the idea of consommé because like, do you know what you do with those egg whites? You chuck them out. I don't like cooking where you have an edible element that is used to rid something else, and then you just chuck it away. So like, if I'm making a carbonara, I'll use the whole eggs, you know. I'm not chucking away egg whites just because...
I mean, you could make an egg white omelette to go on the side. It's also, like, not that easy to separate egg whites. So, like, from a like, effort point of view, just chuck the whole egg in, I reckon.
Yeah. So he's literally, basically, he's serving them water, and it's just, like, it doesn't matter how much of a sad sob story of you being humble in your roots, like, these people aren't going to give that up just for your food, you know, because basically it's I'm what's trending, I'm what's popular. Like they don't give a shit about you, and they only turn on him because like someone leaks the video and somehow just like sends the message to every single person at the same time, which is like this was very like Deus Ex Machina style, like very very convenient. Like, was there like a hacker in this? Like, oh right, hit now.
No, maybe they just all follow the same like Twitter person, so they all got the tweet at the same time.
I don't stand for the movie, but it's pretty convenient. And as I said, like I don't think rich people really give a shit about like toucans getting killed.
And but they care about public opinion. So like, I think it's just like as soon as like they feel like someone's getting cancelled, they just immediately turn on them. Yeah, which is like
so
what Madam Milky
they turn
does.
On him. And she's like, I always thought his food was pretentious, and it's just like, she probably does think that even when she's eating it, but like because of what the opinion is of everyone else,
but the ironic thing is this proves exactly what Chef Paul's whole thing was. Like, it's not his food that is the deciding factor, it's what he represents. And that's the only way they can really defeat him is by tarnishing his image.
It's just fun. It's funny the idea of like defeat. The word defeat. It's just like I will banish him to the pocket. It's like I don't know, because we were talking about Evil Dead before, so I just imagine Chef Paul just like flailing. He's like,
I mean, that's like the intensity that they're bringing to this, Tavi. Like everybody in this movie is so intense, and I love it.
Yeah.
Because it's not realistic, but it's quite entertaining.
Yeah, and it doesn't need to be realistic as well. Because like as much as we did have criticisms of this movie, like I do really like this movie, and I like it's the representation is not reality, but reality is sometimes overrated. You know, it's like it's art, right? Like you are seeing these images as maybe what the characters are perceiving, therefore, like allotting to what the audience is ingesting. There's like a clear point, and whether there's flaws to it, like it just adds to like the charm of the movie. And like you're right, like Chef Paul wins basically.
He was right in the end, right?
Yeah, he was right. That's the idea. And this is like is kind of a little bit distraught by this. Then that's when she goes through the stroll like amongst with the, because like there's shots of the plates of food that the rich people, and quite of them, like most of it is unfinished.
There's also like a pretty funny edit in that scene where it's like Torn chases after her as she's leaving the party, and he's like weren't you hungry for all this? And then she looks back at the party, and it's like these like people in like this Bling Empire shit, people in gold headdresses like riding around in slow motion with strippers and flashing lights. And I can just imagine like you and I being in that same position and be like, nah, I'm all right actually. Just fucking walking away from that party.
Spartacus.
I'll see you later, Kane Lim.
But what I really love about this movie was the end, because it's almost, because she goes back to her family, and it's almost quite like saccharine, because like she goes to her father who was in hospital, and then her sister's like, oh, welcome back, and the content creator's like, oh yeah, you're back now, and it's like, yeah, this is my restaurant, I'm going to go back to my roots. I'm happier here.
It's a bit on the nose. Like even Oo's t-shirt at the end, he's wearing this t-shirt that says "Keep it classic," and I'm like, okay, yeah.
But like, there's that it's very like on the nose. But then there's like this really like, it's the last shot of the movie. It's when she's cooking, and it's just like her intensity and just like a push. A slow push to her face, and like this really ominous music. And it's kind of like the suggestion, or what I took from that is she's basically been corrupted. Like she has that in her, so she's gonna want to keep, she has the hunger basically, right? Like it just cooking for her, like she's saying this shit now, but it's like as I say, like, would you give up what she's had before? Like, when's the next point where she needs to pay for shit? When like,
what if her dad collapses again? Like
exactly. So, and I really love the ending, because like it's kind of like you make it up. Like it's kind of almost bittersweet. It's almost like it's quite open. Like you don't know what her future is. Like, is she gonna just be corrupted again by like what she has had a taste of,
and it's really sold kind of by
Chef Paul. Chef Paul's message is just like she still would want that idea of being the best, So I thought that was I thought that was like really fantastic, like filmmaking, and it's just so simple. It's just really really good acting from Chu Timon, and it's just a push. It's just you're just pushing the camera. There's no $200 million CGI shit or whatever. It's just a fucking
and a musical score as well.
And a musical score. Yeah, thanks, Risky.
We acknowledge the work that sound people do.
And I thought that was just really
you're right. It's really good. Like Ui's arc in general, like it's a bit of a roller coaster, and some of it is a bit contradictory, like because she loses touch with her roots when she goes to work for Chef Paul, but she like wants to be special, and she is talented, so kind of fair enough. But then she realizes that her limit is like like toucan stew, I guess, and she quits to do her own thing. So she sells her soul to a financier to start a restaurant, but she did it for the right reasons. But also she's wrong to abandon her family for it. But if she hadn't done that, she couldn't have paid her dad's hospital bills. So it's kind of like, I don't know. It's like, to me, some of the messaging falls like a bit flat because it doesn't take a stance in either way. But then again, like, as you said, it kind of opens this door to like, maybe she just has the hunger, and maybe like there's no kind of right way to go about it. Maybe this is just a fact of life.
Yeah, because like that's it. Because like she's going for the hunger, maybe for the right reasons, but like, where's the line between like you're starting to indulge and change yourself? Because like if she didn't have the hunger, how's she going to pay for her father's bill? You know, how's she going to pay for her sister's education? You know, so it's like I think the criticism maybe a little bit on capitalism, I guess, the kind of systemic nature working against the poorer. Like you don't have a choice but to kind of if you see an opportunity, you have to take it, because like it's the answer for your situation, whether or not it's right or wrong. Because like anyone, like I'm sure there's not that many hungers in the world where like a chef is like getting stabbed and you know, that kind of thing. But
arrested
it's kind
for
of
toucan
like that,
cooking.
Arrested for toucan cooking. Yeah, I don't know. I think the messaging is fine.
So you like the ambiguity of it. Like, that there's not it's like this gray area, right?
Yeah, because it's not really like, I think the film, and I think I mentioned Parasite before. Parasite does a better job at like kind of balancing the likability of the rich and the poor, because is it the Parks, the rich family in Parasite?
I don't remember.
You kind of get on board with them, and you kind of like them, even though
you don't really know who the bad guys are in Parasite.
But in this one, it's like it's definitely like rich people are kind of like jerks, I guess. But I think the movie was trying to kind of toe that line between like showing rich people kind of being likable. I don't think it succeeded in that.
It doesn't feel as intentional as Parasite, and I think that's probably the main issue that I have with it. Like, it is a bit muddled and a bit unfocused at times, and that kind of leads to this feeling that like the messaging also is a bit like whatever. Like whatever you want to take from it is what you get.
No, I don't mind that. I like not being told what to think when it comes to like watching films. And a lot of films I like are like kind of deeply flawed. I mean, I haven't watched this movie yet, but I think I'm going to watch Beau is Afraid in a couple of days. And that's like, it's obviously an art house film, and it's obviously got very mixed opinions. But I think those kind of movies, even if like the movie wasn't quite what the director or the writer intended, you kind of go off into like a different journey, like through your mind, or what you conclude to your thoughts. And it might not be what was intended, but like you come out with something different. You interpret it a different way. So I like that. I didn't mind that too much. Like, I think my issues with this is just more screenplay issues, and just like maybe a bit long, in a sense that it kind of there's some unnecessary scenes.
A little bit bloated, huh? Yeah,
a little bit bloated. And this is for a guy that loves long movies. But I do think that this movie is a bit long.
It's good though. I think there's a lot of good elements to this film. I think the craft of the film itself is quite good.
A lot of really nice shots in this movie.
I probably would have gotten a bit of it in the editing process, maybe, and made maybe like 20 minutes shorter. But that aside, it is very good. I enjoyed this film a lot.
Go watch it. It's on Netflix. Go support Thai cinema. Go support like the good stuff that Netflix makes. You know, the stuff that we are emptying our pockets for, which I haven't started doing yet. I think they've.
Don't be basic. Don't be a pat. You know.
Don't be a pat.
Don't be kon tomada.
That's right. Yeah.
But I think we're good, right, Tavi?
Yeah. Really good movie. I think I want to cover this film in the future, but if you like this movie and if you're a fan of the actress, you should watch Happy Old Year, which is on Netflix as well.
Okay.
That's a really, I think Bad Genius was as well, but I'm not sure if it's there anymore. I think both those movies are better than this movie. Like,
wow, okay.
This movie is really good. But Bad Genius and Happy Old Year are really, really good movies. And it's just like, I hope more of these kind of like high production Thai films get made, because there's definitely a voice.
I mean, there's good stuff out there. I heard like Girl from Nowhere is not bad as well.
Oh yeah, I've been seeing that here and there on Netflix. Yeah, I think I haven't watched it because it's a series, so it's just like, oh yeah, it's probably gonna take too much time. Yeah.
But yeah, that's us, guys. What did you think about Hunger? Did you enjoy the movie, or did you have similar criticisms as us, or did you have other criticisms? What's your favorite Thai cuisine? Is it pad see ew? I like a good pad see ew. Actually, I like Larb. Larb's probably my favorite. What about you, Tavi?
Oh, wait. Did I just hear you correctly? Did you say that Larb is a Thai meal?
It's the same region, Tavi, isn't it?
Get out of here, Dan. Get the fuck out of here. I've had conversations with Lao people, and they're like, you know,
is that the viewpoint that Larb is Lao and Lao alone?
Larb is a Lao dish. It originated from us, and then basically the Thais stole it. I had this conversation because I wasn't sure at first about how Lao people felt about it. And this is from one person's opinion, but I was talking to a Lao person, and they said, like, yeah, like, I hate that, like, people think that.
Are you sure it's not like? Are you sure it's not like Lamingtons, and how like Australia definitely invented the Lamington, and New Zealand had nothing to do with it?
I even checked the wiki, which is the source of all official information. But if you, Larb is
okay.
Lao.
In that case, Larb is my favorite Lao cuisine, and Tom Yum is my favorite Thai cuisine.
Nah, I'm gonna get that in the editing and make you sound like a bigot. Like
all the Lao people are gonna cancel me.
Yeah, you're like that character in Age of Shadows, Song Kang Ho's character.
Yeah,
who's just like Larb is a type of Lao meat salad. It is the national dish of Laos. Okay. The national dish, Dad.
What about sticky rice? Is sticky rice Lao or Thai?
I'm not sure about the origins of sticky rice. I think people will say it's like Lao, but that I'm not sure.
All right.
But yeah.
Anyway, what's your favorite Thai cuisine, guys?
My favorite Thai cuisine.
Leave your recipes in the comments. As always, you can get in touch with us at twoasianblokes@gmail.com. You can join our Facebook group to be part of the conversation, or you can follow us on Instagram to see what's up. Thank you for listening, as always.
Oh yeah, and happy Lao New Year as well.
Yeah, the Lao New Year will have been like 6 months ago by the time we release this episode, Tavi. But yeah, happy Lao New Year, I guess.
You gotta eat some Larb, some good Thai.
Eat some Thai Larb, yeah.
Some Thai Larb, yeah. when you wake up in the morning, you'll be like that scene in John Wick 4 with the family, but it'll be like Lao people. And you'll be tied to the chair.
Yeah.
All right.
That's us.
That's us. Yeah. Okay.
Stop.